trust me. This is the era that I grew up in, okay? In fact, the truth be told, this is the era our diplomats, celebrities, and politicians grew up in. People like the Prime Minister, the Governor General, Sidney Poitier, Rick Fox, Michael Sweet, Bells Thompson of the Lakers past, and many others. This is the house here that I grew up in. And you see that mango tree there? Believe it or not, I planted that myself some 25 years ago. No kidding. This is the park I grew up on playing basketball as a kid. You know, way back in the day, when everybody wanted to be like Mike. Yes, sir. Nowadays, of course, everybody want to be like, guess who? Freddie. Freddie, there you go, there you go. Can't say I blame him, huh? Who wouldn't want to be like Freddie?
Ooh, look at that dog.
If I wasn't Freddie, I'd want to be like Freddie myself. Now the area, folks, is called Baintown. It was named after a prominent freed slave by the name of John Bain, and he was very instrumental in teaching other slaves how to read and write, even though that was prohibited back in the days of slavery. And every time the slave masters found him doing that, of course, they would whip him severely and isolate him from the other kids, from the other slaves for weeks and sometimes months at a time. And whenever they released John Bain, they would go back to the same old routine of teaching. And after slavery was abolished by Queen Victoria in 1838, those freed slaves, they wanted to honor John Bain, so they named this area after him, calling it Baintown. Yeah. This is where the real people live, the heart of the nation.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Straight ahead, folks, is the street faucet. For those who do not have the indoor plumbing, they would bring their buckets and their bottles here to the street faucet. They would fill it with water and take it home for their personal use. Now, of course, when I was a kid growing up in this area, everybody had to go to the street faucet. Why? There was absolutely no such thing as indoor plumbing, not in this area. Nowadays, of course, at least 75 to 80% of the residents do have indoor plumbing. But even for those who don't have it, it's not because it's not available, you know, but it's because they probably can't afford it.
Department of Public Works.
What do they do? You might call it something different.
They maintain the water systems in the city.
Oh yeah, of course they do.
But they don't install.
Oh, the waters are installed. I'm saying, you see under the ground, for example, there you can see where this trench was big in the ground.
Yeah.
That's the water main. The water main, everybody have access to water. But those who can't afford the water, they'll have to come to the can't afford to pay the water bill, that is, right? You can't bring the buckets here, but the water is in place. The water is in place. You have all the necessities and all the amenities in place, but you just got to be able to afford it. If you got it and you don't pay it, of course the authorities will cut off your supply, you see?
Turn off our water, I turn it back on. And the lights and the gas too.
You don't say. you could go to jail for that down here, man. Don't do that.
They had to catch me first. In the meantime, we'd be looking at TV warm.
You do down here, be watching TV in jail. You'll be watching TV in jail down here, bro.
I grew up here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I hear you.
We did.
All right, sir.
So we out the hood now, man. I'm on vacation. You can press it,
Okay.
telling me these stories about people that don't want it. I didn't go on vacation.
You know what? I like
ain't had enough at home.
What I like to do is bring kids in this area so that when they get back home, instead of complaining about what they don't have, they'll be giving thanks for what they do have. You see?
These kids, they'll forget it on the boat. Man, they won't remember none of this. They want a car, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
I tell you what.
And I'll tell you this, man. I don't have to be thankful for what I got because I'm looking at what other people don't have, man.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
And I always tell kids anytime they complain and say you don't have no shoe to put on your foot, remember someone on the road ain't got no foot to put you on. So give thanks for your foot, man.
We got to keep saying that.
Yeah, we take a lot of things for granted. Trust me, we take a lot of things for granted. Take a lot of things for granted.
And seriously, a lot of areas in America look just like this.
Yeah.
What's the crime breakdown?
Crime, man. We don't have no crime in the Bahamas, man. Crime. We don't rape, we don't rob, we don't steal, we don't murder. Oh no. The only thing we do down here, ma'am, is lie. Of course, that's one of the biggest lies right there, right? Yeah, we do have crime, man. Most of our crime is either drugs or drug related, okay? Which could be a spin-off of anything. But the good thing about it, nobody had ever commit any crime against the tourists. Most cases what we call domestic crime, is it?
What's the employment percentage? What is the employment?
It's difficult to say right now, but let me put it this way. Before the recession, it was only 5%. At the height of the recession, it went up to like 17.5%. It dropped back down. Now the last 2 years, they did a survey. It was down to like 12%. This was good.
Minimum wage?
The minimum wage is $150 a week. And when the Chinese project open out there, they're going to be hiring some 10,000 workers. So that's going to even drop lower, okay? So it's improving.
What's the average rent that you might pay?
Rent, if you rent a nice apartment, let's say 2 beds, some 1 bath, unfurnished in a nice area, not like this now, but in a nice middle class area, you could pay anywhere between $950 to $1,500 unfurnished, all depending on the area you rent in, okay? Now that same apartment on the ocean front could cost you about maybe $4,000 monthly, okay? All depending on where you rent it.
What about on the low end of the rent scale?
The low end in something like in this area apartment, that kind of apartment costs about maybe $600.
And
Yeah. Now most people don't work for minimum wage, but even those who do, for the most part, it don't really affect them too much because number one, we don't have any what you call income tax. We don't have that. Secondly, most of our jobs, you will notice, are tourist-oriented service, okay? Which means at the end of the day, we always tell people do not focus too much on your take-home pay. Just focus on service because at the end of the day, for the most part, you could end up taking home a lot of tips and that makes up a lot of your salary, okay?
we're going to take care of you, Freddie.
Now that wasn't a promotion or that. I'm just trying to be real and tell you how the way it's done, right? But